Good evening, night shifters. This is Third Shift HFY. Settle in, and let tonight's stars tell their story.
Rain carved silver lines through the canopy as Kriza's broken pack staggered deeper into the jungle. The survivors, 3, maybe 4 if Vol could keep up, moved through the endless green like wounded animals, each step shadowed by exhaustion and fear. The air was thick with decay, sweet rot mixing with the sharp metallic tang of alien blood. Kriza's comm flickered with static, no signal. The dropship above was silent, cut off by the humans' jammers and the dense, dripping foliage. Her pride was gone, replaced by a clinical, animal need to survive. Sleth limped beside her, weapon drawn, every glance into the undergrowth a silent accusation. The blame was silent but poisonous. Vol's wound leaked a trail, mixing alien acid with black mud. The fourth hunter, Ure, had not spoken since the ambush, his armor scored and helmet cracked from a human blade.
Kriza scanned the jungle, searching for the ghosts that haunted them. Once they'd been the predators, now they flinched at every snapped branch, every bird call. Something followed. They all felt it. A sudden noise, unnaturally crisp, cracked through the gloom. The pack spun, weapons raised, only rain and mist. Yet nerves frayed further, panic bleeding into discipline. Kriza forced her mind into focus. They needed high ground, a defensible spot to regroup and treat Vol. As they pressed onward, every movement was measured, cautious, haunted by memories of hunts where the roles had never, until now, reversed. The jungle closed in, stifling, oppressive. Every sound became a threat. Even the archive, that endless record of victory, felt far away, a bitter memory of arrogance left behind in blood and mud.
Kriza led them onward, but the sense of being hunted only grew. Somewhere out there, human eyes watched, patient and cold. The rain slackened for a moment, and the air grew heavy and still, the kind of silence that signals something about to snap. Kriza's pack moved through a narrow gorge, walls slick with moss, mist coiling at their ankles. Every step sent stones tumbling into black water below. Without warning, chaos erupted. A net of wire and razor thorns snapped up from the mud, catching Yuri's legs and hauling him halfway off the ground. The trap was old, human, rust and cunning, and as he struggled, a second snare yanked his weapon free. Vol shouted, firing wildly into the mist. Muzzle flashes lit up the walls, brief staccato bursts. Human figures, faces smeared with mud and camouflage paint, moved with silent purpose. They used the cover of the jungle and their knowledge of the terrain to close in, guns low and steady. Kriza saw one, close enough for a heartbeat, her eyes cold, mouth set in a line of grim determination. This was no sport for her, this was payback.
The aliens returned fire, but their rounds chewed through leaves and shadows, never flesh. Another hunter went down, caught in a crossfire. Sleth tried to flank but tripped a hidden pit, crashing down, armor screeching. Within seconds, the firefight was over. Silence returned, thick and final. The only sounds were the rasp of alien breath and the distant thunder. The human team melted away, leaving behind a message, scratched into a battered combat knife, embedded in the earth. We will always hunt those who hunt us. Kriza pulled Ure free, but he was shaking, more fear than pain. The pack had been reduced again, and now the hunters finally understood. The prey was not only dangerous, it was organized. Above, lightning forked across the sky, and the real hunt began.
Kriza dragged Ure to cover beneath a rotting log, senses reeling. The human ambush still echoed in her mind, the precision, the cold lack of mercy. Vol covered their retreat, rifle tracking every flicker of motion. But the jungle seemed alive with unseen eyes. They regrouped in a shallow ravine choked with vines. The pack huddled close. Yure's leg bled greenish acid, sizzling quietly on the rocks. Kriza checked her comms again. Static, jamming relentless. She assessed their remaining gear. 2 rifles half spent, 1 sidearm, a dwindling supply of toxin darts. Their armor was scratched and pitted, camo functions spotty at best. Worse, the environment worked against them. Moisture shorted circuits. Strange fungal spores began creeping into every seam, corroding alien tech. Each time Kriza tried to calibrate her visor, A haze of static swam across her vision, overlaying threat signatures where none existed.
Paranoia bloomed. Every whisper of wind sounded like footsteps. Every bird call could be a signal. Even Vol, usually silent, muttered curses in their language, fingers twitching nervously on the trigger.
Yura spoke, voice strained. "We must retreat. Regroup. They outnumber us." Kriza shook her head, jaw tight. "We are not prey. We adapt. We survive." But the truth pressed on them like the jungle's weight. Their numbers were shrinking, their advantage gone. The Archive's protocols, tactics that had conquered apex after apex, failed here. In the silence that followed, a human voice echoed from the treetops, distorted by a loudspeaker. Words in rough, mocking alien dialect.
"You are being watched. You are being studied. Run!" The pack froze, blood running cold. The jungle was no longer theirs.
The jungle pressed closer with every step, its ancient roots seeming to writhe and twist under Kriza's boots. Above, the canopy swayed but no wind stirred, a sure sign that something moved, unseen, in the upper shadows. The pack slowed, senses stretched thin, weapons raised. They found the first human trap at the edge of a flooded clearing, a lattice of sharpened bamboo, perfectly angled to catch the unwary. Sleth spotted it and pulled up short, his visor flashing an urgent warning. Kriza crouched, studying the handiwork. Efficient, silent, lethal. It was not the trap itself that shook her, but the knowledge that it had been built quickly, with whatever materials the humans could scavenge. Adaptation, weaponized. A glint of metal caught Vol's eye. He moved to investigate, brushing aside ferns, triggering a cascade of thorns and jagged glass, falling in a curtain just inches from his helmet. The pack reeled back, but no ambush came, only the relentless drip of water and the echo of their own fear.
They pressed on, only to find more signs. A fallen tree hollowed and spiked, tripwires woven from synth cord, a wall of mud and leaves rigged to collapse with a touch.
Every advance met resistance, not from enemy fire, but from a mind that refused to yield, that turned every corner of the jungle into a weapon. Kriza forced herself to focus, to catalogue each danger, but a cold truth gnawed at her pride. These traps were not meant to kill. They were meant to slow, to exhaust, to terrorize.
This was not the behavior of prey. It was the discipline of a rival predator. A message, carved into a sapling with a steady hand, waited at the heart of the maze. For every inch you gain, you pay in blood.
Kriza stared at the words, understanding now that victory would come, if at all, only at the highest cost.
The comm unit finally sputtered to life, just for a moment, enough for Kriza to catch a distant, garbled signal from orbit. Static resolved into the harsh, clipped voice of her fleet commander. She pressed close, shielding the unit from rain. "Status update. Extraction not possible. You are being observed. Galaxy-wide transmission. Live feed active. This is now an instructional hunt." The words stung more than the jungle's venom. The Archive had made their struggle a spectacle. Every wound, every mistake, every desperate tactic was now a lesson, broadcast for the galaxy to see. No reinforcements. No rescue. Kriza relayed the message to her pack. For a moment, silence reigned, even the insects holding their breath. Vol shook his head, fury and shame warring in his eyes. Yure's face tightened behind his battered visor, jaw set in a line of despair.
Sleth's voice cracked. "They want us to lose, to learn, to fear."
Kriza's pride curdled. She had been sent to prove the Archive's supremacy, to hunt and collect. But now her survival was an example, one meant to humble her species and warn others. In the humid dark, the pack shifted, uncertainty rippling through their ranks.
For the first time, Krisha wondered if survival alone was enough. If they made it out alive, their legend would be one of caution, not conquest.
A single human voice, mocking and cold, echoed from a hidden speaker somewhere in the vines. "We are watching too." The message was clear. There would be no dignity in this defeat, only the memory of being studied, cornered, and outmatched.
Twilight closed over the jungle, shadows deepening into a blue-black labyrinth. Kriza's pack moved warily now, every step a risk. In the failing light, The difference between predator and prey dissolved. Every branch could hide an enemy. Every puddle might mask a trap. A faint sound, a breath, a heartbeat, too regular for any animal, reached Sleth first. He raised his weapon, scanning the roots of a twisted fig tree. Krizar gave the signal to circle. This time, they would not rush blindly. A lone human crouched in the undergrowth, hunched over what appeared to be a wounded leg. Her clothes were ragged, her face streaked with mud and blood. Krizar's targeting reticle hovered over the figure, pulse rising. A simple kill, perhaps, a chance to regain momentum.
She signaled Vol to flank. He moved quietly, armored feet barely disturbing the moss. The human looked up and smiled. A flash of movement. The wounded leg straightened. The injury was a decoy. In an instant, the human rolled, knife flashing. Vol went down hard, a jagged wound blooming along his side. Sleth fired, but the human ducked and vanished into the green, leaving only a streak of blood. Vol's, not hers. Krizar ran to her fallen kin. The wound was deep, armor sliced with surgical precision. Vol gritted his teeth, struggling to stand, blood hissing on the ground. The pack regrouped, rattled, alert. Every lesson the archive had taught them was being used against them, turned inside out. Kryja's thoughts darkened. This was no longer a hunt, it was a reckoning.
Night in the Amazon was not a darkness. It was a suffocation, thick with fog and 1,000 watching eyes. Krizar's pack huddled in a shallow depression, camouflaged by tarps and ferns. Their night vision flickered, the humid air playing tricks with every sensor. They listened, but the jungle offered no comfort, only the distant, rhythmic beat of something circling them. Suddenly, the silence broke. The low whine of a human drone buzzed overhead, its red sensor lights blinking through the canopy. Sleth tried to jam the signal, but static and ghostly voices spilled into their comms. The pack scrambled, half-blind, weapons drawn. Then came the attack, swift, silent, ruthless. From the trees above, shapes dropped. Humans, faces hidden behind mud and blackened visors, moving with impossible speed. The first blow came from the dark, a blade slipping between Sleth's armor plates, then vanishing. Another hunter howled as a net, this one woven from vines and barbed wire, wrapped tight and dragged him screaming into the undergrowth.
Krizar fought back, plasma blade spinning, but her strikes met only ghosts. A burst of light, a flashbang, improvised from scavenged tech, blew out her visor. Blind, she stumbled, swinging wildly. She felt hands at her weapon, quick and practiced, wrenching it free. As the world whirled in disorienting bursts of light and pain, Krizar heard the humans. No war cries, no taunts, just a cold, coordinated efficiency. Each attack was calculated, each retreat perfect, as if the jungle itself had trained them for this night. When silence returned, 2 hunters were gone, one dead, one missing. Krizar's chest heaved with anger and terror, her pack reduced to tatters. The jungle, once their hunting ground, had become an endless nightmare, and now, even the darkness obeyed the human's will.
By dawn, what was left of Krizar's pack was little more than a shadow, faces streaked with blood and grime, armor in tatters, eyes hollow from a night without sleep. They trudged through a narrow ravine, desperate for high ground and shelter, nerves strung tight enough to snap. Every step felt like moving through a snare, every bush a possible ambush. A faint digital ping pulsed on Krizar's visor. Movement ahead. She motioned the survivors to fan out, rifles raised. The jungle opened onto a wide clearing, eerily silent and empty, but for the faint tracks of humans, muddy boot prints, shell casings, and drag marks disappearing into the brush. The air was thick with the scent of spent propellant and scorched earth. Suddenly, the ground erupted in a blaze of gunfire and coordinated explosions. Hidden charges, expertly placed, shredded the undergrowth and forced the hunters to scatter. Human soldiers rose from concealed positions, faces painted, their weapons efficient and merciless. This was no panicked defense, this was a kill box.
Krizar ducked behind a log, firing blind into the smoke. She watched as Vol fell, riddled with bullets, collapsing without a sound. Yuri tried to break for the tree line, only to be caught by a tripwire that yanked him off his feet and into a hail of fire. Human voices barked orders, communicating in clipped bursts. Their teamwork was flawless. Every movement practiced, every angle covered. The aliens' superior tech was now useless, jammed, shorted, or stolen. In the chaos, Kriza realized the trap had been closing for hours. The humans had anticipated every move, every reaction. There was no escape, only the desperate hope to take a few of these monsters with her before the end. Rain began to fall again, washing the blood into the earth. Kriza's last stand was about to begin.
Smoke and gunfire choked the clearing, turning sunrise into a haze of red and gray. Kriza pressed herself flat against the muddy earth, plasma blade trembling in her grip. Around her, the last hunter fell, Yuri struck down by a burst of automatic fire. The only sounds were the dying whir of alien tech and the efficient, methodical advance of human boots through the chaos. A cold clarity settled over Kriza. She had come to Earth as an apex predator, an agent of the Archive's arrogance. Now, alone, wounded, vision clouded by blood and mud, she saw her enemy at last. The humans moved like ghosts, blending with rain and shadow. Every movement was purposeful, every shot calculated, and not one was wasted.
A human approached, armor battered, face streaked with camouflage, rifle steady. He glanced down at Kriza, eyes unreadable, lips pressed in a line of tired resolve. For a moment, their eyes met, predator to predator, each recognizing the other's cost. Kriza raised her blade in a final, defiant gesture. The human hesitated, then fired. A clean, efficient shot, pain flaring white in her chest. Kriza fell back, vision narrowing to a tunnel of light and rain. She heard, dimly, the humans calling for medics, for prisoners, for salvage. No cruelty, no boasting, just the weary business of survival. The hunt was over. But as she faded, Kriza felt the truth settle in her bones. Earth was not a world to be conquered. It was a crucible, a forge for predators sharper and fiercer than anything the Archive had ever recorded. She became another lesson for the galaxy, a warning in blood and silence.
Rain slicked the corpses and ruins in the clearing, washing away the heat of battle and cooling the earth to silence. Human soldiers moved through the carnage with professional calm, checking each fallen figure, alien and human alike, for any sign of life. Medics knelt by the wounded, working in silence. No one cheered, no one gloated. Their eyes were hard, but not cruel. The work was its own necessity. Captain Alia Reed, her face streaked with camouflage and exhaustion, surveyed the field. She signaled her team, voice low and even. Sweep for survivors, secure the alien tech, watch for traps. Every movement spoke of discipline forged in 100 disasters. Quick, thorough, unsentimental.
The last surviving hunter, Kriza, barely clung to consciousness as the soldiers closed in. Through blurred vision, she watched as Reed approached, weapon at the ready but not raised. There was a pause, a brief, silent exchange. Predator to predator, equals for a heartbeat. Reed crouched, studying the fallen alien with a mix of curiosity and cold respect. "You picked the wrong hunting ground," she said softly. "We didn't want this, but we finish what others start." Kriza could only stare, knowing her legend would not be one of conquest, but of defeat, and a new fear spreading through the Archive. The humans didn't revel in victory. They accepted it, survived it, and prepared for whatever came next. As the rain fell, Reed stood, gesturing for her people to move out. The jungle reclaimed its silence, bearing the memory of predators bested and a warning, carried on every broadcast to the stars. Earth was not to be hunted. Earth was to be survived.